Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargav, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. At a time when minority communities in India are being targeted through hate speech, calls for violence, and attacks on their religious institutions, a disturbing new website has been in the news for specifically harassing Muslim women. On this website called Bullibai, photographs of over 100 Muslim women were uploaded without their consent, and it was said that these women were up for auction. Along with this, the site was filled with degrading descriptions of these women. The website was hosted on GitHub, the world's largest open source developer community platform. Now, sadly, this is not the first time that this kind of online harassment has taken place. Around 6 months back, another website had done something very similar. In this episode, we take a look at this website and this controversy and discuss what authorities have and have not been able to do so far about it. And for this, we first speak to Indian Express's Jignasa Sinha, who has been tracking the story and has been speaking to the women who have been targeted through this website. Jignasa, what can you tell us about this website that has targeted Muslim women and one that has created a lot of controversy?
So a lot of women were tagged on the 31st of December on Twitter, and they received notifications that their doctored photos are being used on this website called Bullibai. And they received these screenshots and later found out that there's a website called Bullibai that has been created on a US software company called GitHub. And this website has their photos with lewd remarks, vulgar comments, and it's like these comments are aimed at auctioning them online, and they're discussing rates of women. And all of these are from unknown set of men that nobody knows who created the website. So that's all we know about the website right now. And it was later pulled down by GitHub after police and authorities raised issues regarding the website's content.
Okay, so essentially it's a fake auction website, but again, what this site is disturbingly pretending to auction are these Muslim women. Now, there have been over 100 plus of these women whose photos have been put up on it. Apart from them being from the Muslim community, do we find anything else that is common between them?
Okay, so we spoke to a lot of the victims, and they said that it's just not that these men are targeting Muslim women, they're also targeting women who are active on social media, mostly journalists, politicians, activists, and these women who raise their voice against the center, anything, who sometimes get political, and now they feel that they are being targeted because they raise their voice. So yeah, that is something they all have in common.
And what problems do these women face once their pictures are put up on this site?
So this is not just a website where you can post, where these men post photos and leave. So after their photos are posted on the website, there's also an option of sharing it on other social media, like on Twitter, on Facebook. And once these photos are uploaded on Twitter, there are other people, other Twitter accounts that keep trolling them. Sometimes their personal details are shared, leaked, and all of these people who are harassing them, they discuss their rates, they're hurling abuses, the sexual harassment, they're being insulted because of their religion, and so they go through a lot of harassment and trauma.
And Jignasa, could you also talk about the kind of concerns that have been on these women's minds since this has happened? How has it changed their day-to-day lives?
When they found their name on Sully Reels, they were very shocked because you don't know how to react to a thing like this, right? I mean, you find your name on a website, you find your photos, people are sharing your details, and they get very scared. I spoke to a Congress member who told me that all she can think of doing is just rage on Twitter because she doesn't think that she has any other option. She has tried to contact police and everything, but nobody has helped them clearly. And again, imagine a lot of them were with their families on New Year's Eve, and they again found these photos up online. And a lot of them don't want to share this with their families because they're scared that their parents would be worried about them and their safety. But it's something that you cannot hide because relatives and family friends do tell your family members and parents. A lot of them don't want to go to work because they feel that they'll be trolled all the time. They will be sexually harassed. Their offices or their colleagues will judge them or, look upon them differently. And they've raised so many complaints and, provided the police with all the evidence, but they're also tired. It's also very traumatic for them to go through this again and again, to look at these photos. Okay, so first thing they have to do is, when they go through these photos, is to record all the evidence. They feel that if they do that, they can provide the police with all the evidence at first. So they have to record everything. They have to record all these comments, all the videos about them, all the photos. So it's very traumatic for them to go through it all again and again and then tell the police. And women have alleged that the police are not sensitive and they ask them nonsensical questions and they harass them. So yeah, it's been very traumatic for a lot of them.
Now, the other thing to note is that this isn't the first time this is happening. Around 6 months back, there had been another website that did almost exactly this. What had happened back then?
So yes, 6 months back in July, another website by the name Sully Deals, that was also hosted by the GitHub company, was created by unknown people. And the website had the same concept. It was again targeting Muslim women. They were posting their photos with vulgar comments, lewd remarks. They were trying to auction these women online without their consent. They were discussing their rates. There was sexual harassment. And it's the same thing because, the website also had the same concept of deal of the day. And the deal of the day would have a photo of a woman. And then these photos would then be shared on other social media accounts. And back then, there were many women who filed complaints online and with the Delhi and Noida police, but no action has been taken in that case yet.
And you spoke to a woman who has been targeted now and who was also targeted last time as well. What did she have to tell you about her experience and, what she has been going through?
So we spoke to a lot of people who have been targeted now, but who were also targeted back then, especially journalists who were targeted in July, and now they again found their posts back on bullyby.com. Back then, they at least had this hope that the Delhi police or the Noida police or IT ministry would intervene and take some action, because it shouldn't take a lot of time for these authorities to backtrack these sites and trace the accused. But none of that happened. They kept waiting. We spoke to a journalist who told us that she called the police several times, but they didn't answer to her. We spoke to a pilot who told us that she was never called up for questioning. And this discouraged them. But then they thought that this case would be over. But now they found again their photos up there and the trolling continues. The sexual harassment is again there. And they say that we can't cut down on our freedom because people want to silence them. This is their way of saying that they want to silence these women. That's why they're posting these photos and harassing them. So a lot of the photos that have been posted on this website come from Twitter. So these women, they don't want to remove their photos because, it's not going to change anything. And they feel that if they stop speaking about political issues, will it really help? But then they say that they don't think it will, because these men will continue to stalk them and harass them for everything that they've said in the past, for all the actions they've taken. And they've again filed complaints, but now they're not very hopeful. They don't trust the police and they don't think that the police will help them.
And during this time, what have the authorities said about why they haven't been able to move forward and why no serious action has been taken?
So we spoke to Delhi police officials and they've been sticking to the fact that they did write to GitHub about pulling down the site and helping them with the investigation, revealing the name of the people who created the website and other accounts on Twitter. But according to Delhi police, GitHub has not yet given them a satisfactory reply or shared any information about the websites. And we did ask officials that why aren't you backtracking? Why aren't you using other softwares to trace these people? And they said, no, that would be a very tedious process. And we are waiting for GitHub to reply because they've already sent documents under the MLAT, that is the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty. So they're waiting for GitHub to reply through MLAT and then go through the legal procedure.
And what kind of political reactions we have seen to this website and this controversy so far?
So there have been a lot of reactions from a lot of people on Twitter, especially after the Bully case, because journalists and politicians, they said that they are being targeted for no reason, and just because of their religion. So the IT minister Ashwini Vaishnaw, he posted a tweet saying that he's already spoken to GitHub owners and they have blocked the website, and their team are coordinating with the police and other GitHub legal assistance teams. So the matter will be investigated. Also, the National Commission for Women Chief, Rekha Sharma, she also replied to a few tweets by the women and said that the matter has been noted, we'll take cognizance. But again, the women who have been targeted, they're very disappointed because these are very standard replies that the ministers in power have given. They want action, and nobody has right now pushed the police to do anything in Delhi and UP. The complaint has been there for like 6 months. Then there have been people like Asaduddin Owaisi, who's AIM chief, who's pushed Hyderabad police to take action. People in Mumbai have also registered FIR, and activists have raised voice that we must take action against these people. And I believe 2 people have already been detained in the case, but Delhi police are yet to take any action.
Now, Jignasa just mentioned that 2 people have been detained in the matter. One is a woman from Uttarakhand and the other is a 21-year-old engineering student. Both of them had allegedly shared content from the website onto their Twitter accounts. The 21-year-old student was actually first detained in Bengaluru, but was then taken to Mumbai, where he was arrested by the city police yesterday. But the police so far have no idea about the person who made the website and had been running it. If you remember, when Jignasa had asked the Delhi police about tracing the people, she was told the process is very tedious, and they were waiting for GitHub, the platform hosting the website, to give them more information. But how tedious is the process of tracing such people? And what does it involve? To talk about this, joining us is Indian Express's Ashish Aryan, who reports on information technology and has covered cybercrime extensively. Ashish, could you explain what is usually the process when it comes to finding a person behind a website? The Delhi police has said that the process is very tedious, but what does one have to do?
Right. So, Shashank, while there are various procedures, one of the easiest is flagging these to the companies where such sites are made or where such apps are made, and then seeking details such as which email ID made it, at what time was it made, what was the mode of payment if this was a paid website, or if it was a free website, what was the last known location of the device on which this website was created. And if the last known location is not known to the company, then at least give us the IP address through which this website was created. Now, although there can be multiple issues even with giving the IP address or last known location, because there is IP address masking, there is location masking, there are use of VPNs. But to an extent, it gets law enforcement agencies a bit closer than just grappling in the dark when it comes to tracking down such people. So that is one of the first ways where law enforcement agencies can track such people. They can go ahead and ask, for example, Twitter or Facebook or Google and so on and so forth, of where exactly is this originating from.
Yeah, and when companies like GitHub are not based in India, authorities then have to approach the government of those countries as well. So is this whole process is what the Delhi police describing as tedious?
So Delhi police, the last time an app or a website of this nature was made, they had written to GitHub saying that this is what has happened and you should give us the details. But later the Delhi police itself claimed that GitHub had refused to give them the details, citing that Delhi police should use the legal route to obtain the necessary details. So that is obviously a tedious process in the sense that it involves a lot of back and forth, and it involves getting the ministries of external affairs in both the countries involved, because the MLAT procedure happens whether it is criminal or for criminal cases. It only happens through the Ministry of External Affairs. A file is raised with the Union Home Ministry, and then it raises that file with the corresponding embassy in that country. And then these two embassies have to sit down. Then the corresponding embassy in the other country has to approach company and tell them that this is a request which has come on a country level, and therefore there's more pressure on us to cooperate, and therefore you should cooperate. So of course the process is tedious, it's time taking, but there are other ways and there are other procedures. Say for example, one of the issues is that when such information requests are denied by companies, they can take the legal route in the sense that they can approach a competent court saying that this is the case we are probing and we need your help, in the sense that we need a court order for you to say that we should approach so and so with the details, and therefore help us find the details of the criminals or the perpetrators so that we can nab them early. I mean, it is not clear why such route was not taken, but again, like the Delhi police is to an extent right that this is a tedious process and it will involve going through various channels. But having said that, despite it being a tedious process, we have seen that Mumbai police nabbed a suspect within 2 days of the case being filed, and then another suspect was nabbed today from Uttarakhand, and maybe she'll also be brought to Bombay. So one can or one should believe that if there is enough, so to say, will, these people can be tracked down and these people can be, held accountable. But that does not take away the fact that this is indeed a tedious process.
And Ashish, could you talk about a recent prominent case where the authorities had to follow these procedures?
So, Shashank, in all such cases, say for example, when the farmer protests were happening last year, so the Indian Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, they had written to Twitter saying that you should block these 1200 accounts because these accounts are being run by or being funded by Khalistan, which has a divisive agenda against India, and therefore you should shut them down because these are our powers under Section 69 of the IT Act, and therefore you should comply with them. They also said that if you have a problem with it, you can go and challenge it in a court of law, which will then deliberate on whether we exercised our powers correctly or not. But then yes, since Twitter has an office in India and they had a presence in India, physical presence in India, these orders were directly served to the Twitter India office, and they had to comply with it. And the moment they refused that we will not comply with it, we all know what happened, and there was no huge hue and cry on them not following the processes and so on and so forth. But yeah, in most of these cases, say for example, the BPO scams, if one of the accused of BPO scams, they cheat people in the US or the UK, then these countries through the MLAT, they come to India saying that this is the person who we suspect has cheated people using unfair means and we need your help to nab him or nab her. And then those procedures are put in place and the person is tracked down.
So far in this episode, we have talked about Muslim women being targeted through this fake auction website, the trauma they have experienced because of it, and what the authorities generally need to do to find the culprits in such cases. But in the end, we take a quick look at GitHub itself, which, as mentioned earlier, is the platform where the site was hosted. To talk about it, Shruti Dhapola, who writes on technology for the Indian Express, joins us.
So GitHub is the world's largest open source developer community platform. The idea here is very simple. Any developer, any software creator can just upload their project and code. This is for others to view, edit, tweak, and you can collaborate with others to help improve it, find errors, fix problems. Most of the features on this platform are free for users. It does have paid options for organizations, and organizations can also bring their projects to GitHub. And it uses the software Git to track changes in files and for coordination in software development. And that's also exactly why it's so easy to upload an app for anyone, and including an offensive app, as has happened for the second time.
And so based on its existing policies and guidelines, what are the things that are not allowed on this platform?
So GitHub actually has a fairly long list of what is not allowed. You're not allowed to give threats of violence. You're not allowed to promote acts of real world violence or terrorism. You're not supposed to attack people on the basis of their identity or bullying or harassment. It should be noted that topics such as age, body, disability, ethnicity, all of these are allowed as discussions. Sexual orientation, identity, religion, all of these topics are allowed for discussion, but speech which attacks a person on the basis of this is not allowed. And they also don't allow doxing, which is basically revealing of personal information with any kind of malicious intent. sexually obscene and pornographic content is not allowed on the platform, though this technically does not mean that all nudity is prohibited on the platform.
So in this specific controversy, women were specifically targeted because of their identity and they were being bullied. So what have we heard from the platform regarding this controversy and the complaints about it?
So GitHub has just said that they've taken down the app, but they've not revealed who was responsible for it. So when we reached out to them for a statement, they said that they have policies against content which involves harassment, discrimination, and violence, and they've suspended a user's account following investigation of reports of such activity, all of which violate our policies. They've not explained who's responsible, and whether the account is permanently being taken away is also not clear. Remember, there's two kinds of actions that they take, which is suspending an account or terminating the account. Terminating is, of course, much more permanent, but suspending, we're assuming, is a short-term measure. So it's not clear how long this account is suspended for and who the person is behind it has not been revealed.
You were listening to Three Things by The Indian Express. Today's show was written and produced by me, Shashank Bhargav, and was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.